Well, the Niti Aayog has released a report titled Strategy for New India at 75. The report sets goals for economic growth across various sectors for the country in the 75th year of independence. It outlines an average growth rate of 8% till 2022 and hopes to make India a $4 trillion economy. The most significant recommendations, though, are to do with the agriculture sector and the promise to double the income of farmers in the next 4 years, which has been the stated objective of the government. From increasing irrigation coverage to hybrid seeds to public-private partnerships, it spells out various steps to boost agri-productivity. But here's a quick fact-check on some of the measures that have been proposed. The report calls for the adoption of the Model Agriculture Produce and Livestock Marketing Act of 2017. This act allows states to break the monopoly of APMCs and create new markets. It allows the setting up of private mandis and online trading of agri-goods. But so far, and this is important because this is the fact-check, so far, only Arunachal Pradesh has adopted this act. Maharashtra has partially adopted it and Karnataka has promised to adopt it soon. But no other state has moved on this. Now on to irrigation. The report seeks the increased coverage of micro-irrigation to 53% of cropped area in the next 5 years. But let's take a look at the facts. According to the last available data, the government beat its micro-irrigation target in FY16. But this is largely due to progress made by 5 states: Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. Most other states still lag behind and lag behind quite significantly. So let's start by discussing the recommendations made by the Niti Aayog with well-known agri-economist and professor at ICRIA, Ashok Gulati, also a member of the Reserve Bank of India board. Mr. Gulati, thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. You've, of course, been studying the agrarian economy for decades now, sir. So let me start by asking you about this aspiration and stated objective of the government of doubling farmers' income by 2022. Do you believe that it is time now for us to stop talking about this target and this aspiration, because we are nowhere close to being able to achieve it? Should we instead look at more realistic targets in the short term and focus on achieving those?
You know, frankly, if I tell you that overall GDP growth in the economy I'm going to raise from 7 or 8% today to 20% tomorrow for the next 5 years, what would you say? How would you react to that? Isn't it almost impossible, absurd to keep this type of a target? So to me, frankly, this doubling of farm income in real terms by 22-23 looks more as a cruel joke with the farmers. And this is what will boomerang. This is where they, promise the moon, and then they can't give even, 1/3 of that promise. So I think you have to be very realistic. In fact, the problem is the rate of growth in real incomes has fallen during the BJP period compared to what it was happening during the UPA period. So that is the cause of distress. Now, earlier, the trend is 3.6% per annum. The real incomes increased between 2003 to 15-16. If you can give even that or a little higher, 4%, 5%, it will be only by 2030 you will be able to double the farmer's income, not by 22-23. So I think we have to come to the ground, the reality that we have, and not get lost into all and created unnecessarily in the country.
Okay, so you're saying we need to focus on the ground reality. The ground reality as of today, Mr. Gulati, is that we have 3 states that have announced the decision to go in for farm loan waivers. This on the back of several states that had announced it earlier as well. Now, forget the issue of it will impact the credit culture and moral hazard and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is that something is broken in the agrarian economy today. And while farm loan waivers may not be the sustainable solution, what can be the intervention in the interim?
We were looking at the commercial banks' outstanding loan data to agriculture. The September 2018 figure is 10.5 lakh crores. Now, this is only the scheduled commercial banks. On top of that, add the primary agriculture credit societies and the regional rural banks, 14 lakh crores. Now, if you want to do that entire, loan waiver, it's unbearable in the economy. So they will put all sorts of restrictions, only from the nationalized banks, only from PACs, or only up to 2 lakh, this condition, that condition. So, but even if you take and only short-term loans, not the long-term loans, even if you take 1/4 of what the outstanding is, you are getting a figure of 4 to 5 lakh crores. Now, instead of doing this in a haphazard manner, instead of doing it in an unpredictable and literally it's a bait for getting votes, nothing else. You should have a structured, more predictable, stable income policy. Because all these promises of loan waivers, they are not going to get in the next 3 months. It will take them 3 years to disburse those. That's the experience of 2008 loan waiver. It took them 4 years to get that. And the figure that was given initially was 72,000 crores or so. Finally, what was distributed was 53,000 crores. So, unfortunately, the farmers will get astrayed with this, and then they will get only 25% of what their outstanding loans are, and that too over a 3-year period, unpredictable, very haphazard manner. I think time has come when we have a systematic income policy on per hectare basis, how much we can afford, put in the input subsidies, especially of fertilizer and power from the state, incentivize the states that those who want to join, half will be given by the center, half should be given by the state, and you can have a more stable, structured support for the farmers, rather than this upside down every 5 years. You do this gymnastics of policy making a total joke of the policy making.
No, you're absolutely right, sir, that, this sort of, as you called it, gymnastics every 5 years is a cruel joke and it causes more unpredictability for the economy. But on the issue of income support, sir, what you've just suggested, I'm sure that there has been some estimation done of what it could cost both the centre and the state. Is there a rough ballpark figure? You gave me a number of 4 to 5 lakh crore rupees. If minimum, that was the minimum as far as a national farm loan waiver is concerned that you estimate. But is there some calculation, broad estimation of what an income support policy could entail?
Yes. Like Raitu Bandhu of Telangana, they gave 4,000 rupees per acre. That is about 10,000 rupees per hectare. The gross cropped area in the country is about 200 million hectares. So you simply multiply that, it comes to 2 lakh crores of rupees. Right? Now you say, okay, center will give half of it, and the states who want to join this scheme will have to give half of it, provided they upgrade their land records so that we can improvise on the existing Raitu Bandhu. They are giving only to owners. Actually, it should go to the cultivators, whether it is the owner cultivator or tenant cultivator. So you need to do that. Also fold in that the fertilizer subsidy as well as the power subsidy. Power subsidy is a killer, another 70,000 crores. So, and the leakages will stop, and that will be going directly to the farmer. Then you correct the pricing of fertilizer and power. Then you can save your resources on fertilizer subsidy. You can save your water, which is depleting like anything. So it will be more sustainable, more rational, more predictable, more equitous. You can make it pro-small farmer, that is, per hectare, they will get 10,000, but those who are bigger farmers, they will get only 7,000 per hectare or 8,000. So you can make it inversely proportional to the size class.
Okay. Mr. Gulati, I want to very quickly also ask you about some of the specific recommendations that the Niti Aayog has put forward in the Way Forward report for agri. And a lot of conversation, a lot of talk around this value addition and the value chain infra status for agri value chain, set up village-level procurement centres, focusing on the food processing industry. I mean, all of these are stated objectives. These have been stated promises that have been made. What is coming in the way of India not being able to achieve its true potential when it comes to value-added agrarian economy?
You first need a very strong minister who can carry the ball and score the goal. That's number one. You need a champion to do it. It is not the Prime Minister which will do everything. So that's number one. Number two, you need to carry out agri-marketing reforms, which is a state subject. So this champion minister has to coordinate with the states the way we did GST reforms. That's the way agriculture marketing reforms have to be done. So once this is cleaned up, then you have to get the investments in place to make those value chains. I mean, all these ideas are good, and there is nothing new in these ideas. We have been writing for the last 5-7 years on this. So question is, who is going to do it? Who is going to implement it? So you need resources, but you need before that vision and perseverance and patience to champion that cause and implement it. Unfortunately, this government is going in such weird directions in agriculture. One wonders what is in their mind. You need access to best markets in the country and around the world, and you need access to best technologies in the world. These are the only two things to be done. Rest will follow. All these incomes and other things will be a result of this. So you have
what
to
would your
create
biggest concern be, sir? As you pointed out, that there have been several tall promises that have been made. Everyone knows what needs to be done. The question now is of execution, and that is the big challenge. What would concern you the most when you hear various governments, and at this point in time, it's the Congress that is pushing out these farm loan waivers and now calling for a national farm loan waiver, saying that we would not let the Prime Minister sleep till he announces one, and you've cautioned against the perils of a haphazard farm loan waiver announcement. What would concern you the most today?
I think first is one expects humility and admission by the current government to admit that there is a serious crisis in farming. Most of their people are still saying this is a political stunt, there is no problem, everything is fine, and we have given them the moon and this and that, all this doubling farmer income and all these slogans. Now, there are only 2 or 3 ministers in the present government who have openly admitted that there is a crisis. I would not hesitate to even name that because he released one of my books, Mr. Nitin Gadkari. He said, and I quote him, he said, farmer ka to band baja diya aap logon ne. So if this is the crisis, then that type of a person who is strong enough and who can take care of water sector, but also agriculture, and he has grounded, that type of a strong minister should steer it. It will take you at least 1, 2, 3 years to implement that agenda. Just by slogans and sending one circular of APMC reforms, this was sent even in 2003. Nothing happened. So we have to wake up to realities, and we should first admit that there is a problem. Then we should have a strong leader to carry out the reforms and listen to the professionals, not the parrots who want to repeat exactly what the Prime Minister says. This is where professionals do the biggest harm.
Well, the need for professionals and the need for a GST-like approach to take forward agri-marketing reforms. Ashok Gulati, agri-economist, always a pleasure, sir. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Let's take that conversation forward with Surjit Bhalla, economist and former member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. Also with us, Kiran Kumar Vissa, farmer activist, and Piruz Kambata, Chairman and Managing Director of Rasna. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Mr. Bhalla, let me come to you first. A lot of people would say, people who track the agri-economy very closely, that what we've seen being put forward today by the Niti Aayog is old wine in not even such a new bottle. These recommendations have been made previously by various government committees, by the Dalwai Committee, which was set up by this government itself, which submitted its reports in 2017. And where are we on each of these stated objectives 4 years on? Is there some truth to what we just heard there from Ashok Gulati, that there is intent, there are tall promises, but we're failing at the execution end?
Look, I heard part of what Dr. Gulati had to say. I'm in substantial agreement. But I want to point out, I don't know why professional economists like Mr. Gulati, etc., are not coming out with the following, and something that I have stated for a long, long time. I'll continue to state it, and that is that there are two most corrupt systems in agriculture. The first is the PDS system, which is obviously linked to the MSP, and the second is the Agricultural Produce Marketing Act. Now, both of these, the people who benefit are in large part the politicians. There's a very easy solution to the farming problem, not that it'll take care of problems overnight, but something that I've proposed and I'll continue to propose is that, first of all, remove all constraints on farming. That is to say, they can sell to who they want, who they don't want, they can grow what they want, not grow what they want, and they can export what they want and not export what they want. Every government has intervened with the farmer. Some slightly better, some slightly worse. It's a disaster, and it is something that only benefits politicians. Second, you eliminate the APMC Act, which will automatically be eliminated. This will not necessarily solve the income problem. Farmer can still be poor, can still be deficient, can still lose a lot of money. That's where you bring in, and we have the technology for that, is direct benefit transfers to the producers. Not all producers, but watch or look at what Telangana has done. It's a very straightforward model of transferring income to farmers. At the same time, also get rid of the PDS system and transfer income to individuals. That is already being done in some of the states, or not some of the states, sorry, but it's being done in the union territories. But both the PDS is a national system, but farm distribution, etc., is a state subject. And I think the BJP should take the lead in coming out with these policies and junk the things like farm loan waivers, etc. That recipe.
But that's my point, and I'll come to. I'll come to farm loan waivers in just a second. And both Mr. Gulati and we had the chairman of State Bank of India also say exactly the same thing, that look at the income support model being followed by Telangana as opposed to loan waivers, which may not necessarily be sustainable or ideal. But on this issue that you talked about, of doing away with all the constraints around farming, I mean, let's look at the Niti Aayog vision document, adopting the Model Agricultural Produce and Livestock Marketing Act of 2017. The reality, Mr. Bhalla, is with the exception of Arunachal Pradesh, not a single state in India has adopted this, and most of these states, until at least last week, were all in control of the BJP.
Look, as I said, the agriculture has been the most under-reformed, or no reforms have taken place in agriculture. We all talk about the elitist bias of industrial reforms, the policy of 1991 onward, all dealt with industry. And whether they did good job or bad job, I'm not going to comment right now, but agriculture has systematically been ignored, and this is where corruption is rife. Big time corruption. Half of the food that goes through the PDS system disappears into thin air. Now, if you believe the air can actually suck out 50% of PDS, you've got a bridge to sell me. But where does it go? it goes to middlemen, politicians, mills, etc. So it comes out on the books that we have sent the money to the, we've sent the grain to the PDS shops, and obviously the poor don't get it. So we know these problems.
Sure.
And, you know, so why...
Yes, we do. We absolutely do.
And you're absolutely right. This is all, it's all bad wine. You know, not, you know, old wine can be good, but this is horrible wine. And this needs to be confronted head on.
Okay, old, bad, horrible wine in not even a new bottle. Kiran Visa, that's Surjit Bhalla's description of the kind of recommendations that we've seen. Now, I want to talk specifically about the idea that has been taken forward effectively by Telangana. We've seen Mr. Gulati just talk about that on the program, along with the State Bank of India chairman as well. The idea to revive direct income support to farmers. Let's first listen in to SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar on supporting income support to farmers instead of loan waivers, and then I'll ask you for your comments.
One, this is not a permanent solution. It has not helped in the past, it will not help in future. Okay. The fact is also that many a times the farmer's income cannot support the debt which they are taking, because income is low. Then whether we focus on augmenting that income or we take the route of loan waivers.
Aitu Bandhu in Telangana is
I would consider it to be a much better option than loan waivers. It does put a certain fiscal burden on the state, but both puts.
Yes,
but at least in that, the Telangana model, from bankers' perspective or from whatever way you look at it, I think it is a much better way of assisting the farmers rather than loan waivers.
Kiran Visa, we're in a situation where there is a clamour for loan waivers, and I'm not for a moment suggesting that there should be no intervention. As I said, I don't want to even debate the moral hazard or credit culture argument. I don't know. Can you hear me, Kiran? Not sure if he can hear me. So I'll come back to Kiran in just a second, but let me bring Piroz into the conversation. Piroz, the same question. So my question to you, Kiran, my question to you, great. My question to you is that, you know, as we get into this clamour for loan waivers, the possibility of a national farm loan waiver being announced, let's look at the experience when the UPA farm loan waiver was announced in 2008. Piroz, let me ask you that question while we re-establish contact with Kiran. You know, 2008, 72,000 crore rupee farm loan waiver was announced, debt relief package as well as a one-time settlement as well. And it was staggered between 2008 to 2010. The idea now that is being suggested by many is income support to farmers as opposed to a haphazard loan waiver. What, to your mind, is the solution? Because there is need for intervention. In the short term, what are the answers?
See, first thing, I think we should say that this whole thing has got fuel because some few industrialists who actually, you know, robbed off the banks with lakhs of crores of rupees. So actually the talking point is that few industrialists can run away with a few lakh crores, why can't the farmers' loan be waived? But I think this whole argument is not proper. Those people have done something criminal and they are going to pay for it. That doesn't mean that the rest of the loans can be waived, because in any banking system, the banking system cannot do with a loan waiver. Second, what I have not understood is that why loan waivers of everybody, because actually there must be some people who have made money also and his loans are being waived. The main problem in agriculture, I think we have to understand, we are only looking at antibiotics and medicines. We are not looking at the original problem. The original problem is the health of the person itself. Why look at medicines? In my mind, the original problem is that this UPA loan waiver also is bad, this loan waiver is also bad, all is bad, because this main problem is that we have never done, like 91, we got an industrial liberalization. And there was a whole slew of reforms which changed the whole industrial face of this country, and we have changed. Agriculture, probably after the last green revolution which happened some decades back, has not seen those changes. There are small fragmented farms where technology is not being used. A person is told here is subsidy here, we will buy it here. There is no market system where a person wants to make money, and I think it is too small and fragmented. I can't be speaking for all other experts here, but let me tell you, the big opportunity lies in actually mechanized farms and food processing, because then you will have huge big farms and a much bigger value. Like garlic, you can sell, let us say, at 10 rupees a kilo, 30 rupees a kilo, but the garlic powder in a nice can which you can export to the world, you can sell at probably 200 rupees a bottle. And I think this whole value linking agriculture with food processing as one big thing, and having the farmer reap benefit of it, I think that has been lost. And it is like, I'll tell you, when I...
No, but you know, again...
I'll give you one example.
But why is it... But let me ask you that question, Piroz. Let me ask you that question, because, you know, there's been a lot of talk around value addition, a lot of talk around food processing. FDI in the back-end infrastructure to provide for food processing has been opened up for several years now. What is holding it back? And is the kind of investment that the government is making, for instance, through budgetary support for sectors like food processing, enough?
I think that is not enough, but my point was this whole sector, the agriculture sector, has not been liberalized. Companies cannot get into agriculture. What we have been told is cold chains we can set up. But now where do I going to get the crop from? Now, for example, let me put it this way. I want a particular type of orange to make a particular type of juice. That orange is not available in this country. So I need to actually grow the oranges right from scratch. I need to farm them. I need to first grow them, farm them, then get them, then process them. And most of these agriculture commodities which are grown in India are not the processing types, at least the ones which we can export. So I personally believe that this whole model, that's why I said liberalization has to happen. There we need corporates to get into agriculture much more, not only by contract farming, by cooperative farming. And what is being missed out is that by having these small fragmented farms, this country is not growing. So actually we need to really support this. It is like the old days. Old days, everything was price monitored, everything was price controlled, there was reservations, there was license raj, and there was no growth. Similarly, here everything is controlled. You are giving subsidies. Nobody knows where the subsidies are going. So I think first thing first is that this whole sector has to be liberalized, and big ticket investors have to come in. Now, to answer your very specific question, why is FDI not coming in? First, I believe that the FDI in food processing has been liberalized in the retail chain only 2 years back, in the retail part. In the manufacturing part, they had. Now, when they have liberalized it, what has not been understood is that there is no caveat which says that you have to invest in the back end. So, right now, everybody is investing in the front end by having retail shops and by having those e-coms and by having apps. But I don't think there is investment which has gone in the back end. I believe that there has to be some caveat which says that if you need X amount of investment in the back end. But my belief is that investment will happen not because of a policy, not because of a subsidy, if people find it remunerative. And how to make it remunerative is the main issue which I think both the central state governments all have to come on the table.
Absolutely. Kiran, you've been listening in on this conversation. I'm hoping that our lines are now finally connected to you. I'll come back to you, Piroz, in just a second. Kiran, respond to both what you've heard from Surjit Bhalla, Ashok Gulati and Piroz Kambata, and specifically on the issue of income support versus loan waiver as being the most preferable option today.
Firstly, I just wanted to respond to the previous speaker. I definitely have to say that liberalization of the kind that he's talking about, and basically making the road much smoother for big corporates to not only get into contract farming but actually directly do the cultivation, I think is the direction that he's talking about. I think that kind of a thing will be a much bigger blow to all the small and marginal farmers in the country. We should look at agriculture as a source of livelihood to 50% of the population, and how the government can play an enabling role so that the small farmers can have a better control over the entire value chain. See, the more part of the value chain actually is in the control of farmers or the farmers' institutions, that is when the income of the farmers is going to improve. We are not talking about improving the income of Reliance Fresh or Rasna or some of the US companies which want to invest in India. I think that we have to get straight off the bat. If that is the direction that we want to go, then definitely not doubling of farmers' income, it's going to become halving of farmers' income. So that's one thing. As far as the direct benefit transfer
no, but what is the basis for that claim?
I think a direct income
Kiran, no, one second.
No, 1 minute.
What is the basis for that claim that it will actually become halving? I'll give you a chance.
I will like to respond. I will like to respond.
What is the basis for that? I'll give you a chance, Firoz. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. What is the basis for that claim that you're actually going to see incomes being halved as opposed to yields in fact going up for farmers? Because the pilots that have happened on a small scale with the likes of specific foreign companies have actually shown an increase in yield. So if you have evidence to suggest otherwise, please do present that.
No, I'm just saying that the liberalization of the kind that he was talking about, where he's saying that I cannot grow the kind of oranges that I want to be able to, grow the exact, basically the corporate companies, the large corporates, which are bringing in the FDI, dictating every step of, from what crop is to be grown and who it is to be sold to. I'm saying that that kind of a thing actually will pass on the control of the whole agriculture sector only to the hands of a few farmers. On what basis? I think you can see the experience of all the countries in the world which have followed that model, whether it is Europe or whether it is the US and so on. Only 4% of the farming of the population is actually supported in Europe in agriculture they are involved. In US it is less than 1%.
Yeah.
I'm saying that that kind of a model, that kind of a direction is absolutely not the direction to go for India. I'm not saying that no reforms are needed. I'm saying that reforms are needed, but keep the small farmer at the center of it and then think, and not try to say that, how do you make it easier for FDI to come in? How do you make it easier? That's what I'm saying. It's a lot larger debate. I don't think we can get it in sound bites.
Yeah. All right. No, we can't address this. Firoz, very quickly respond to that, and then I'll bring in Sujit Bala on some other issues. Go ahead.
I think we have got the whole IT in front of us, the software industry, IT industry. When did it expand? When the big players came in. The average farmer today, even if it is in half a acres plot, whatever he does, he will never make money because he will never get the yields. And in the model which I am talking about, he can be joining as a partner, he can be joining as an employee. Nobody is going to throw the farmer, the foreigner is not going to cultivate the crop. Not the examples, nor is Rasna, for example, or Reliance is going to cultivate the crop. The cultivation is going to happen from the farmer. And I can assure you that the farmer will not make double the income than what he is presently doing for the simple reason that the yield will increase, the value addition will increase. It is like saying that when a young boy today, he works in a modern store, he works in a Reebok shoe store, example, he makes 25,000 rupees a month. Now obviously if he was working in that small store selling shoes, his income was not 10,000. So now you will say, no, Mr. Khambata, all shoes should be in only small scale sector. There should be no branded player in shoes, and there will be cobbler shop every nook and corner. What will the boys earning? 10,000 rupees. So if you can have a branded shoe, you can have big shops of shoes and make people earn. Same way you can make in the farming. Actually this mindset, let me put it this way. I am telling you, agriculture is down only because of this mindset. Because they treat agriculture as a holy cow, and we are thinking that we are not getting big industry involved. Because big industry is not involved, because small farmer will be marginalized, and the farmer is getting bad and bad and bad, and he is getting sunk into debt and debt. You waive off one debt, you waive off another debt, you waive off third debt, and half the country's GDP, whatever revenue taxes are going in them, and nothing is happening. You liberalize, and automatically you see the difference which is going to happen. On the contrary, let me put it this way, it will double the
fair point. Kiran.
Like I said, I just want to say
I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. Respond to that. No, 1 second. 1 second. I know that this is a larger debate, but specifically on the issue that Firoz is raising, and I think a lot of people are grappling with that. The fact of the matter is that you've seen loan waiver after loan waiver. That doesn't seem to be the solution to address the problems that the agri-economy is faced with. So, to your mind, give me 3 specific ideas that you believe need to be done today that are not going to just be band-aid solutions, that are actually going to improve the state of the sector.
Definitely.
You're asking me?
I'll say that, and I just want to. I
I'm
want to
asking
make
Kiran.
one point regarding the previous point. Yeah, I'm just saying that. I think the kind of analogies drawn from how software industry has boomed or some other industry has boomed actually does not apply to agriculture, and I think the economists, including Dr. Gulati and Dr. Sujit Balla, also would understand that way, and support that view that actually you cannot apply the analogies from the other industries to what needs to be done in agriculture. But like I said, that's a larger debate. I just want to make that point. As far as the loan waivers are concerned, I think definitely a loan waiver is a temporary and a solution for an immediate relief. And it is almost, there are a large number of farmers. We work with a lot of farmers who are committing suicide and so on. A large number of farmers are such distress in a debt trap. And definitely that debt trap was created by a lot of misplaced policies and so on. Therefore, I think the demand for loan waiver is coming from a point that the government should take responsibility for this distress and provide some immediate relief. So definitely a patient cannot be saved, patient cannot be cured before saving the patient first. So I think that's the only limited sense in which we should look at loan waiver, and definitely a loan waiver should not be repeated every 5 years, and definitely a loan waiver I think should not become a tool of electoral politics. This is what we believe in, right? But what needs to be done, I think that there actually has to be let me just say that what needs to be done.
Go ahead.
We need to have an ongoing debt relief mechanism wherever the farmers have a bad year due to no fault of theirs. There has to be some kind of a relief from the debt. The crop insurance is supposed to provide it, but it's not providing it. It's not even reaching 30% of the people. So actually what we have said is that there should be an Agriculture Debt Relief Act and a Debt Relief Commission which actually handles the debt in a rational way, and where there are loan waiver is not the only means of a debt relief. There are other mechanisms of debt relief that can be provided, and these should be there as policy options on a targeted basis, in an ongoing basis, so that it doesn't all pile up and then become a election year bonanza that the parties give. So I think that is something that we have actually framed as a Freedom from Indebtedness Act from the farmer unions. I think that has to be debated and considered very seriously. Kerala already has an Agriculture Debt Relief Act. Telangana passed one but never implemented it, and so on. I also wanted to say about
we're running out of time. Gentlemen, we're running out of time. We're running out of time. Sujit Balla. Sorry, Kiran, we're running out of time. I'll come back to you for one last point on that, but let me bring Surjit Bhalla in. Surjit Bhalla, you've heard what both Firoz Kambata as well as Kiran Visa have to say. And I think the point that Kiran made is absolutely correct, that the patient is suffering. There needs to be intervention at this point in time. What happens post that can be discussed, debated, but at this point, relief has to be provided in some form or fashion. And I think the point on setting up an agri-debt commission that looks at this issue without politicization, which is exactly what is happening or what has happened in the past as well. Your quick points on immediate relief in the manner in which it can be best addressed.
Look, you had started with that the Niti Aayog had come out with old wine. And I'm afraid what Kiran is coming out with is old wine. I mean, Kiran is sounding like, I'm sorry to say, like a classic planner. We will plan everything. We know what needs to be done. We cannot have a farming, a contract farming, because I know better. I'm afraid I completely disagree. I have offered what I think is the fair solution, is the correct solution. Let the farmer be. Why don't you let the farmer do what he or she wants to do? Why do you want to impose? If a small farmer wants to sell his land, so be it. Now, on the income support, I completely agree. That's what I've been saying all this time. But we'll have a debt commission, and the debt commission will do the same thing. So I'm sorry. This has gone on for too long. There are vested interest groups all the way from activists to politicians. And all I'm saying is, it is of high time their bluff is called.
High time their bluff is called, and it really now needs to boil down to execution. And I started the program by saying that these are recommendations that we have been discussing for years, especially over the last few years. Each of these, there have been several reports, commissions set up to look at what the road ahead should be for the agri sector. 30 seconds each to Piroz Kambata and Kiran Vissa. Piroz, 30 seconds to you. Road ahead, very quickly, the top priority that needs to be focused on.
No, it is loan waiver is totally morally incorrect. Everybody will take loan. Tomorrow traders will say, I also want a loan waiver. SMEs say, I will have a loan waiver. Then they will take a loan, then the whole country will go down. Nothing will go up. I think I'm saying you please ensure that first the human being is healthy, then you give antibiotics. It is a totally wrong thing. I personally believe, I think the bigger debate is the overall agri reforms to get the tractor back, and I fully agree the farmer needs a choice and nobody is forcing him. If he doesn't want to sell his farm or he doesn't want to do contract farming or cooperative farming, so be it. But give him a choice. Don't keep him stagnated. Don't keep him down. You give him a choice to come up. Give him a choice to come up. If he wants to work in a cobbler shop, let him work in a cobbler shop. If he wants to work in a mall, in a Reebok shop, let him work there. Why are you forcing a person to be a cobbler all his life? Farm sector requires a big ticket reform. Big companies have to come in, and you will see the big ticket picture taking shape. It has happened in Philippines, it has happened in Brazil, and everywhere else it will go to happen.
Okay, Kiran Vissa, the last 30 seconds to you.
Yeah, I just want to say that we should listen much more to the farmers. When Dr. Bhalla says, why are you stopping the farmer from doing what they want? I'm saying first the economy should listen to the farmers about what they want. Why are you thrusting down a certain opinion of a certain way that the economy should function? I think that farmers have worked out certain demands based on their experiences as well as an understanding of the overall economy, and they have also come out with a larger charter. Loan waiver is not the only thing that the farmers are asking for, and in fact if you talk to many of the farmers, they say that that's only a temporary solution, that's not the long-lasting solution. But the solutions have to be discussed with the farmers. I think that's what is not being done.
Okay, all right. Well, we hope that this dialogue and discussion will actually lead to some form of action on the ground, because as we've pointed out, there needs to be a sustainable solution in place. The agrarian economy needs to be unshackled, and it needs to have the farmer at the center of this conversation. Surjit Bhalla, Kiran Kumar Vissa, Piroz Kambata, appreciate you joining us here to discuss the road ahead for India's agrarian economy on the back of the recommendations that have been presented today by the Niti